All right, so we're back now, and for our second half of this PowerPoint, we will continue on after budgeting, and we are going to talk about credit. So the first thing about credit is that you need to know your FICO score. Your FICO score is a way that Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion can determine how likely you are basically to pay a loan back. So these companies have a way of determining based on your financial purchases and your payments and your on-time payments and your how much debt you have, how much income you have. They have a way of figuring out, are you a good person to loan money to or not based on your FICO score. So based on your FICO score, you could get a lower interest rate or a higher interest rate. If you have good credit, you tend to get lower interest rates on your loans. If you have bad credit, you tend to get higher interest rates on your loans because you are more of a risk for not paying them back. So the way to build your good credit is to have all your payments in on time for credit cards and loans and things like that, not to over accept or over get like loans where you have your income, say your income is like $1,000 a month and you have loans that equal like $10,000. See, that debt to income ratio is too high. So they want to see that you're managing your money, and you'll see that according to this chart, most people fall into this area here, like 650 to 799. Few people go above that to 800, and then there's the people who have kind of lower credit. Maybe something happened, maybe you have a bankruptcy or something like that, and your score goes down, and they'd fall below that area. So you just want to make sure that when you are ready to get money from a lender, or which is a bank or a credit union, that you have a good score so that you get a good interest rate and you're not overcharged for borrowing money. So checking your interest rates really is about understanding the loan that you want to get or the credit card that you want to get and reading the fine print. Some of these credit cards will charge you 25%, like for purchases. That's really ridiculous. So you want to make sure your annual percentage rate, that's your APR, is something more reasonable, maybe like 10%, right? So essentially, if you loaned $1,000 and you had 10% interest rate, you would pay $1,100 back for the loan. That's how it works. So if you want $1,000 and your APR is 10%, you would pay back 1,100. So if your APR is 0, you'd pay back 1,000. So those are the best loans to get, obviously. They're just harder to get sometimes. Also, as students, having no credit is like having bad credit. So you want to think about getting a secure credit card if this is you. And basically that means you go to your financial institution and you let them know you want a secure credit card, and you ask them for a limit. Maybe it's like $300 or $400 or $500. They're going to ask you for $300 or $400 or $500 cash. They're going to hold that, give you the credit card, and then you start using it and paying on the monthly payments for the credit card, or paying it off each month, either way. So the idea is that the bank has a 0% chance of not getting their money back because they're already holding your secure credit card. After a few months, they'll probably release those funds back to you and possibly even increase your credit card rate. If you tend to pay on time and not make a drastic purchases, then they'll see you're a good candidate for an increase of your amount. So say they might increase it to $600 or $700 or $800 on your card, and then you'll get your money back. So that's one way to do it. I always advise students never to take cash out on a credit card because the APR is higher on cash at an ATM. So just budget wisely, and you shouldn't need to take an emergency loan out, basically cash out on a credit card. They usually like add 10 or 15% to the APR, and it's really ridiculous. And also, when you use credit cards, always calculate how long it's going to take to pay off your credit card before you purchase it. And so for that, you can use a credit card calculator. So you would enter the balance in the card. Say you want to buy like a TV that's like, I don't know, $1,500. Say your interest rate is like 15%. And say the minimum payment is like $25. So when you click calculate to see how many months that will take, it says it's going to take 107 months. That's a long time. That would mean if you pay the minimum balance, you would pay your card off in 8.9 years. And for sometimes the minimum payment is too low to even pay off the card. Let me see. So say you purchase something for $2,000 and your interest rate is 15% and your minimum payment is only $25. It says your payments are not enough to cover the accumulated interest. Try increasing the payments. That means that it will take an infinite amount of months to pay off $2,000 when you are paying only $25 on it. So you just want to calculate how much your payment's going to be and how long it's going to take you to pay it off, which helps you to make a better financial decision. So that's what this link is right here. So calculate how long it will take to pay off your purchases before you purchase, and pay your bills on time and keep your card balances low in order to help your credit score. That's just a little 411 on credit. Now, when we think of credit, we really think of loaning and purchasing money. So here's a scenario. So scenario 1. Patrick is planning for his senior prom. He has taken the girl he has been dating since homecoming. He would like to take her to a nice restaurant before the dance, but he only has enough money in savings to rent his tux and buy tickets to the dance. Dinner at the dance is included in the price of the prom tickets, but he really wants to go to a fancy dinner. He recently got a credit card to use for emergencies. Should he use the credit card to buy dinner? What are some advantages and disadvantages of borrowing using the credit card? And is this a wise purchase? So what you want to consider is the cost of the thing you're trying to buy, how long it will take to pay off, if it is a need versus a want, and if there is another way to get the end goal without using the credit card. So what he wants is dinner, and he already is getting dinner at the dance. So what my students tell me when we do this activity in class is that, oh, well, maybe it's like a really special girl. Maybe he wants to woo her. Maybe, he's excited about the whole thing and he has a whole thing planned, and dinner at a fancy restaurant is what he's looking for, right? But ultimately, it's not a wise decision to put it on the credit card because he is already paying for the dance and it includes dinner. So this is a simple example of why you wouldn't use the credit card. It is not an emergency, and he's already getting the dinner anyways, and so therefore most students decide no. Some students decide yes on this one, but most decide no. So there's another one. Let me see, where is it? This one right here. Scenario 2, Deborah graduated from high school and is halfway through a program to become a dental hygienist. She expects to earn about $55,000 after she graduates, but right now she needs a student loan to finish the last year of her associate's degree. She's confident that her summer internship in a dentist's office will lead to a full-time job. What are some advantages and disadvantages of borrowing, and is this a wise purchase? So we see here that the need is for education, and the girl, Deborah, is in a summer internship. She's almost finished with her education, and so those internships definitely tend to lead to those full-time jobs with these careers in dental hygienist. And so she just needs this last push, right? She's expecting to earn enough money to pay the money back. And so she's, debating on the student loan. So my students are like 50-50 on this. There's some of them who are like believing she'll get the job and believing, she has the means to pay it back and she'll have the degree. It's for her career and it's to better her life. They say yes. Other students, they say no. Maybe she could take fewer classes and graduate in the future as opposed to sooner, and pay out of pocket and different things like that. So really you have to consider those advantages and disadvantages and determine for yourself if it's a wise purchase, because it is a loan. I say yes because it's for school and she's going to be able to pay it back. Lastly, let's do scenario 4. It says Carlos has collected comic books for years. He regularly attends conventions and trade shows and is knowledgeable about the book's values on the market. At the last show, a dealer that he knows well showed him a particularly rare edition that is in mint condition. The dealer has offered him a fair price, and Carlos expects the value to increase steadily over the next several years. Carlos does not have the money right now, but if he charges the purchase, he can pay off the balance in 3 months and pay less than $5 in finance charges. What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of the borrowing, and is it a wise choice? Should he borrow? So my students always tell me, it's a magazine, it's a comic book, he shouldn't do it. But when you think about the scenario, you can trade this comic book for anything. Anything that is rare, worth money, will appreciate, which means increase in value, would be considered something more like an investment. And since Carlos will be able to pay off the balance in 3 months and pay less than $5 in finance charges, I would say it's a good idea because it is going to appreciate in value and it's not going to be a huge financial burden. So those are the ways that you can look at scenarios to see if they are going to be good purchases or not. So that's a little bit about credit. So we like to tell our students that it's never too early to think about retirement. Anybody can start a retirement account at your bank or credit union, and it's worth at least speaking to somebody about because a lot of times, like 80% of, it says 56% of workers did not calculate how much they would need to save so that they can live comfortably in retirement. And people only saved $25,000 when they really would need $300,000 in order to retire. So you want to think about how much money is it going to take to retire? What kind of bills am I going to have in retirement, like a house payment or not? And think about what you can do today to start saving. Anybody can go to a bank or a credit union and open a retirement account and start saving money today. It is possible. So you just want to think about these options here at your bank or your credit union. You can ask your bank teller about mutual funds, IRA, individual retirement accounts, 401ks, investment stocks, bonds, certificates. So you'd start there, and if you wanted to find private companies that do it, you can find them as well. You can Google them online and find private companies that invest as well. But first, I would say get your feet wet at your bank and see what they have to offer for you. So basically some do's and don'ts. We want to caution you against identity theft and fraud. It's not usually something you think about, but people can take your money. They can use your credit card to buy lots of purchases, and then you don't realize your money is gone from your bank account. That happened to me. I had to go through my credit union and tell them I didn't purchase all this gas, and somebody had taken my card and purchased gas for like I don't know how many cars they filled up in one day, but so I got my money back, but I wasn't careful because I let somebody steal my identity basically in that way. So you got to be careful for that. If something that you're trying to get sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So be careful for that. Don't co-sign, which means you're going to sign your name on someone else's loan who can't qualify for the loan. The reason they can't qualify for the loan is they have bad credit. So you don't want to co-sign for anybody. You don't want to share your PIN with anybody. You always want to monitor your transactions online to make sure no one's taking your money or no one's stolen your identity. You don't want to give out any personal information online in any emails. Your bank or credit union will never ask for your information online. If they do, if it looks like they are, it's fraud. Someone's copying their email and asking you for your bank information, so don't give that out. You got to keep up your good credit to get good loans when you're ready to buy a house and a car. That's definitely a wise thing to do in life. You definitely want to have a will and a beneficiary, because what happens when you pass away is that sometimes there's like life insurance or accidental death policy with your job, and you just have to fill out the paperwork on your beneficiary paperwork for somebody you love to get that money, and sometimes people just don't fill it out, so you want to do that. You want to set short and long-term goals for yourself. Never use payday loan companies. They charge you money on top of monies to loan money to you. And protect yourself with auto, home, health, renters, and or life insurance, okay? You can get a free credit report on annualcreditreport.com. It doesn't give you your scores, but you can look it up and you can see what is on your credit report. You can also get your taxes done for free at the public libraries, even on campus. You can get them done for free around tax time. And I encourage you to become a member of one of the credit unions in your area, because it will help you tremendously later on in life. And if you are ever a student worker, then you are definitely eligible for a Schools First Federal Credit Union account. So that's a little bit on credit. I hope you had a fun time finding out about financial literacy, and I will talk to you later.